Coach, your initial thought on the 5 seed San Diego?
I'm fine with it. We played in San Diego in 2001 or something. I thought it was a great place to play. It was a great venue.
I thought maybe a 4 seed maybe for you guys are going in. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what goes into it, to be honest. I was on the committee that was supposed to, and I'm still not sure, why, what goes on. But, I mean, whatever it is, you still got to go play. So we're going to worry about going and playing, not the seed.
You haven't looked at it probably at all, obviously, but any thoughts, Murray State?
Beetle played when he went to Europe this summer with their point guards, all I know. He's obviously he's pretty good. He's getting 21 and a half a game. That's a good league. I coached in that league at Akron until they hired Jerry Faust in football at Akron. We had to get out of the league. Wasn't his fault, but they went Division I. It was a Division one AA football conference.
Long way to go to maybe play Marshall, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Wichita State's pretty good. That'll be a hard game, I think. But Marshall, if Marshall can get them spread, they very well could get them. It's it is. It's a long way to go. I thought we were going to Boise, actually. Calipari texted me today and said we were going to play, so I figured it'd be in Boise.
Yeah, were you surprised you weren't matched up with Kentucky?
No, I think both of us had enough losses this year that it didn't make sense.
Typically, how have your teams come back mentally after Big 12 tournament losses? Obviously, you've had success in the tournament at times and not at others. How have they typically been able to rebound and bounce back?
Well, 3 years ago, we didn't come back at all. It was as uninspired and as bad of practices as I've had the whole time I've been here. And then we go lose to Stephen F. Austin. And I think other than that, we've been pretty good. And we've been in the final 3 years in a row, so. We got till Friday, so we'll be recouped and ready to go.
Coach, you were kind of talking earlier about how difficult or how it could be extremely difficult to compare like some of these Big 12 teams against each other. A couple of things that kind of stood out to me just watching it. Oklahoma State not getting in. They beat Kansas twice. You guys beat. I mean, they had some quality wins. Don't get in. You guys beat Texas Tech twice. They get a 3, you get a 5. Some of that stuff just, I don't know if it really made a whole lot of sense.
Well, I think it's up to the committee how they use the numbers. But I mean, it all comes down to numbers. We beat the number 1 team in the field. So Oklahoma State beat Miami outside of beating the people in our league. So I don't know. Honestly, I've obviously never been in the room. I mean, I know I've done the bracketing deal, being on that committee, but I don't profess to know how or why. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, if we're a 3, we're a 5. What does it matter? I mean, we're still going to play the same people.
Just talking points right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of things that, you know, you just kind of not sure how it happens. You know, there's the, you know, whether it's the 1 line, 2 line, 3 line, whatever. You know, I'll give you a great example. The head of the committee goes on national TV and said injuries would not be a factor in seeding. We were the #1 ranked team in the country all year, and Kenyon Martin broke his leg, and they dropped us to the last two. The last two. So they had us 8th best after being #1 all year, and saying that it wasn't going to affect it. Obviously, it did. So yeah, I mean, you don't know. I mean, maybe he felt that way, but the rest of the committee didn't feel that way. I mean, there's no way of knowing. And that could be the Texas Tech thing. I mean, they didn't have Keenan Evans at the end. Maybe they took that into consideration. And I don't know. I think everybody, all the talking heads, thought that they would take Colson not playing at Notre Dame into consideration, and obviously that wasn't enough to get him over the hump. And every year it's different because you got different people. I remember one year the chair said, we're not going to use the RPI. What are you going to use? Well, we're really going to put an emphasis on strength of schedule. Where's strength of schedule come from? RPI. You know, so.
That's kind of the thing. One year they'll use the RPI, next year they won't. And the year later they'll use it again.
Yeah, so I mean, some people talk about the eye test, you know. As a committee, we said, please don't do that. You know, then they show those guys on TV, and then people say, that was the eye test, that guy. You know, it's a hard thing.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing. It's a lot harder, particularly given the absolutes that they can't do. You know, you can't play a conference team until a certain time in the tournament, and the #1 seeds 1 through 4 get to play the closest to home, and all those kind of things. I mean, there's a lot of rules that kind of, it's not, you don't go 1 through 64 and bracket it that way. Yeah. That would seem to be the best thing, but then you say, well, what about, you know, why wouldn't the best teams get to play closer to home so their fans could see them? You know, I mean, there's a lot of variables. I'm sure they do the best job they can do.
We talked all year a lot about the disadvantage you guys have on the travel. How are you ever going to win a Big 12 tournament if they play it every year in Kansas City?
We'll just have to be better, I guess. I was told, I think it's right, that when it was played in Kansas City, the only ones that have ever won there are Kansas, Iowa State, and Missouri, and they're all geographically where their fans can get there. I mean, that wasn't a nonpartisan crowd. But, you know, Bob, shoot, they make 17 to 25 threes. I mean, I don't think the crowd had anything to do with that. We just, you know, we missed some easy ones, and they came down and hit threes, and we didn't do a bad job guarding them. I mean, normally I would say, you know, we should have done a better job guarding, but we had a lot of pressure on the ball. So they made shots. They made shots with us flying at them. I mean, we couldn't have guarded them any closer without fouling them.
Last year when you guys did the San Jose trip, do you take anything from that to prepare for San Diego? Time difference, all of that, anything?
We're going to go Wednesday, so we should be good to go on. I don't think they haven't announced times, right? Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It kind of depends on, you know, some guys are late night guys. They play better. If we had like a 9 o'clock game, which would be midnight here, some of them play better. Some of them don't play as well. I know we played Stephen F. Austin in the afternoon, and we must have had late night guys that year, yeah, because we were awful.
about the volumes of information that are available on teams now and the way you can download video like that versus whatever the old system was of finding tapes and all that? I mean, I guess it's obviously more convenient, but is there almost, can there be too much information to go through as you put together a scouting report?
No. I mean, generally you do the last 5 games. Generally, you don't look at what happened in November or December. You go last 5 games. Last 5 games is generally the teams that are in a tournament. They're playing for conference championships. They're not hiding anything. You know, they're putting their best out there. And then we do. I got the stats of their last 5 games right here. I think that's more important. So you look at the last 5 games, you figure out what they run the most, how they get their best player shots, and game plan that way.
One last travel question.
You're on this travel thing, aren't you?
I'm
Are you going?
Yeah.
Are you? Oh.
He's living from here right now.
Taking a bus. Greyhound. You could go from San Diego and then Boston, possibly. I mean, you're across the country there.
That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. The last time we played in San Diego, we went San Diego to Anaheim. That makes sense.
Right.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Can I pop quiz you really quick? The last 5 game stats there.
Mm-hmm. I haven't looked at them.
Your eyes go first.
Field goal percentage. Field goal percentage, and then you look at how they get what they get. They are, well, you look at this, they're a very good free throw shooting team. They shoot 72% from the free throw line. Shooting 49% from the field. Pretty good.
Does that just jump out to you, or is that where you ordinarily go when you start looking at guys?
Well, I mean, you kind of look. I don't know anything about them, so I kind of looked to see if I'd recognized any of these names. That's the first thing I looked at. But then after that, I look at field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, and free throw percentage.
When you get to sit down and look at TV, then what they run, how they get their guys stuff, you mentioned that, but is it just that, or is that just the initial look, and then?
Well, I mean, you got to go. You look at their man offense. You look at their zone offense. You look with us. We got to look at their press breakers. I don't foresee us playing any 1-3-1, but before we had to take a look at, try to find, which is sometimes hard because a lot of people don't play 1-3-1, but just kind of, and then what they do, if their last 5 were close games, what their go-to sets were.
That's obviously a process you do for every opponent, every game. Is it different, though, when it's like something like this where you've never seen them before, as opposed to, Texas you've already seen a couple times, Kansas you've already seen a couple times, so on and so forth. Is there differences in that aspect?
Well, I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter what I know, it's what our guys know. So we try to use, I told you this before, but I used to go take, when I was at Walsh, you're finding things to do to, visits and stuff. So I took them in to see Sister Marie Helene, and every time you walked in, she handed you a piece of paper and a pencil and told you to take notes, everything she talked about. And so I did that about, 3 or 4 times. Like about the 5th time, I'm like, Sister, I already heard it before. I don't mean any disrespect, but 5 times I could probably figure it out. She said, no, I want you to take notes. She said, I have found over however many years of teaching that the more of your senses that you use, the better your chance to retain. And everybody learns differently. Some people learn by I've had guys who are dyslexic, so you give them a scouting report, hell, they can't read it. But they watch the film, they do the walkthrough. That's why we give them so many different ways to learn, so that hopefully we hit on what their best chance of learning is. So you watch film with them, you do a walkthrough with them, you do everything you can possibly do. You try to talk to them about it. It's give them written stuff. Some people learn better. I went over to the dean of students at Walsh. He said, he called me over, said he wanted to learn something about basketball because it got to be so important at the school. He thought he should know something about it. And I said, well, come on over to practice. He said, I can't learn like that. Do you have a book? So I gave him Bob Cousy on basketball, because that's how he learned. So it's try to give them every way we possibly can to be able to digest enough to. The hard part's the quick turns. The hard part's the second game.
I assume when you go over a scouting report or go over scouting a new team, you look more for weaknesses than at their strengths.
You look at what you can exploit. Yeah.
It almost doesn't matter what their strengths are, other than how you gonna match it up with it, I guess. But strengths you gotta take, weaknesses you gotta take advantage of.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you can take some things away that kills the set. So you emphasize that a lot more.